Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel and welcome back to Garden of Promises by Stamperia. This is a mini album. It's geared a little bit to beginners, but I think everybody will enjoy making it. And we have finished our 2 signatures. These are them, this is them. Anyway, so we're going to make our cover. I've cut my pieces. I have 2 6.5-inch squares of medium chipboard and 1 6.5 by 1 3/4. That's our spine. So we need to wrap those. Let me get this out of the way. Now normally I do not make my covers during my tutorial videos just because it's time consuming and I have a video that shows you how to do it, so there's no need for me to do it. However, in this case, because it's a beginner project, I want to show you how. So let me grab what I need. So I have 2 pieces of the cardstock that I've been using. And I need 1 inch on all sides of this cover. So what I'm going to need then are 2 pieces, I'm just going to put them together, that are 8.5, because our cover is 6.5. So if I had 1 inch top and bottom, that is going to be 8.5. And then, get this one out of the way for the moment. I'm going to lay out our pieces because I want to get an idea where that seam is going to fall. I don't want it to fall in an awkward spot. Okay, that's going to be fine. All right. So then, now for this next step, I like to use 1 inch tape. However, I do not have any 1 inch tape. And if you're a beginner, you might not either. So we're just going to use our 3/8. You can use liquid glue for this, but if you're going to, I would say use Fabri-Tac because it doesn't add moisture the way something like a water-based glue like art glitter glue would. You can also get sheets of score tape. I like the 8.5 by 11 ones, but I don't have any of those either. So. Okay, so these are all taped. And if you have a 1-inch ruler, it would come in handy for this. Because we want this to be 1 inch up and 1 inch over. So I'm just taking the back of the tape off. And I should have burnished this, I forgot. Where's my... Hang on. I always want to burnish the tape. Okay, now let's get this. So I have got this lined up. Pretty much. It doesn't have to be absolutely perfect, but do the best you can. Okay, so there is that one. Now, normally when I am doing this, I put a piece of 1/4 inch score tape here, and I think I'm going to again, just for ease. If you don't have it, you can measure, but I do recommend that you get yourself some of the 1/4 inch tape because it will make this spacing easier for you. And the narrower widths of the score tape are not as expensive as the wider ones. The 1 inch is pretty expensive. Okay. And burnish that. Okay, now for this, we are going to take our 1 inch ruler and lay it there. And then we're going to line up this against the ruler and against that tape. There we go. Now we are going to put the other piece of tape. And now we have to add the other piece of paper. I'm just going to slide this over. This is where things get a little bit tricky because it starts to get large. Okay, and this is a small book, so this is not even that big a cover, but it can get a little large. So I'm just going to use a very thin bead of glue right along here. I do not recommend tape for this particular step. You can if you want to, but I don't recommend it. I just don't think it's as flexible as it should be, let's just say. I'm just lining that up with a line so that I have this somewhat straight. Turn it over. Okay. Then we're going to add this one, right? And as you can see, this is way bigger than I need. So I'm just going to, in the interest of making it easier to get it on screen, I'm just going to whack it off with the scissors here. But you don't have to do that. You can cut it on your paper trimmer. I am going to come back and cut it on my paper trimmer, but just to keep it so you guys can see it, why I did that. And there are lots of ways to make covers. I'm just showing you this most basic method. I have, other books that I've done other methods. They're all similar to this, but there's one that I quite like where you don't actually put a spine piece in, which maybe, I haven't done that in a while, so maybe we'll do that soon. I'm just making sure that that is where I want it. Okay, here we go. And we are going to burnish. Now I need to trim this nicely, so I am going to, and I could have done this in the first place, but I didn't. And then let's just trim that. I'm just going to use scissors, but you could use your paper trimmer. Okay, now we need to trim the corners. There are, actually I think I'll tape first, then I'll trim the corners. There are special tools to help you with getting the corners trimmed. I've never used them, I just eyeball. What did I do with my ruler here? There it is. There are people who can magically tear this stuff, but I am not one of them. And I have an actual tool for this, but I don't know where it is. If you guys could see the mess this room is right now, it's giving me anxiety. So I'm just taping, and you can see I'm skipping the gap there, all around the edge. While I'm at it, I'm going to do this edge. You want to be careful when you're putting these long bits of tape down, not to stretch the tape. Okay, now the next step is the corners. What you want to do is cut off at approximate 45-degree angle, and you want to leave, like you don't want to cut it right against this cardboard. You want to leave a distance of about the same as the cardboard, right? And I'll draw you a line. And I'm eyeballing this, I have no idea. But that's generally how I do it. It usually works out just fine. As I do like mitered corners on my covers. And one thing I sometimes do, as you can see here, is sort of curve it. Okay, that's that. So now, what's a mad? Thought it was my sister. Okay. So what you want to do is take, I like to use my bone folder, and just give this sort of a pre-fold. On all four sides. Oops, I forgot a piece of tape right there. Fix that. Okay. Now, when we fold these over, you can, if you want, run a thin bead of glue right down into that crease. It looks nice. I don't usually. I do it on typically larger covers, but not usually on small ones. And sometimes not even on the large ones. Okay, so you want to pull back. This is the side we're going to do first. So I'm just pulling back this side tape a little bit. And I want to get these pieces here out. Not the whole piece of tape, obviously, just the back. Go. And I like to start in the middle. Just fold it over. And because you've pre-folded it, it should just pretty much just go over. There we go. Now on a small book like this, I do it like that. On a larger book, let me show you what I would do on this side. Just in case you decide to continue on and make bigger books. For a bigger book, I will use my bone folder. So I'll do the same thing. Start in the middle. But then as I fold it, I will use, let me move this up so you can see, I will use my bone folder to make sure everything is as it should be. And then go in the opposite direction. And I got a tiny little crease right there because I didn't get this firmly down before I went out, and that's fine, it won't be visible. Okay. And then we do the ends. Now, before you do the ends, you've got a little bit sticking up here, and you just want to sort of press that little extra bit down and into that corner. It's kind of hard to describe, but I think when you're doing it, you'll see what I mean. Okay. And just give the corners a good press. Okay. And another thing you can do with these little ones, watch out for my camera here, is you can just lift it up and over like that. It's a little trickier with the bigger covers, but it works with the little ones. There we go. And now I want to press down and fold up. Like that. And then I also like to do it from the outside. Okay, there's our cover. Not hard, right? Okay. What we're going to do with this cover is wrap it in rice paper. So let's do that. I can find my rice paper, which I have had my hands on about 5 times today, but now, of course, there it is. I wasn't seeing it. Now, let's see. I don't know if this piece of rice paper is big enough to cover all the way. It's not, but that's okay. I think what I will do is wrap, let me think, if I want to wrap the front fully or do I want to wrap the back? I think I'll wrap the back fully. That way we won't have to do anything on the back, and we'll put a mat on the front. Okay, let me get some stuff and we'll do that. Okay, so I am going to use Stamperia Cola Velo, which is their rice paper glue. if you don't have this, and it's not the easiest thing in the world to find, I've found, you can use a matte medium. I used to recommend the matte Mod Podge, but I've had several people tell me it stays tacky, so I don't recommend that anymore. So a matte medium would work. We're basically decoupaging here. Okay. I'm just getting a scrap of, or I actually use the one this comes out of. And when I'm making an album, if there is a rice paper available for the collection, I will always get it so I can wrap my spine at the very least, if not the whole cover. I just think it adds a really polished look. And I think it also, I've never had a cover rip, but I've had people tell me their covers have ripped. And I suspect that this, having the rice paper wrapped around the spine would probably help with that. Okay, so what I am doing here is just sort of laying out where I think this is going to go, which is right about there. I just want to make sure I have enough to wrap around. And normally I start with the spine, but I think this time I'm going to start right where I have it. And that scrap that I just put away. I've got a clog in my bottle here. Okay, there we go. Well, what is going on here? There we go. Okay. And I'm just going to fold that over, just like that. And we can come back and tack down anything we need to, but at least now we have this where it needs to be. And you don't want to do this flat. It's because, let me move this so you can see. This has got to come and wrap around this. So you want to keep it in this position. You don't want it laying flat. And make sure you're wrapping the back. Which is the one with the seam. And I'm just doing a little bit at a time. Lay it down. You're less likely to get wrinkles that way, but if you do get wrinkles, don't worry about it. It looks just fine. thought I put some there. Okay. Make sure you get glue right along that edge where it's going to go over the fold or the bend or whatever it is. And now turn it over. Looks like I didn't get it very straight, but that's okay. Goodness, I definitely got it on a little crooked, but with this particular design, it doesn't matter. Okay, so then you're going to put some on the outside. And actually, I should probably fold it over before I put any more on the outside, because otherwise my desk is going to be a mess. Okay, there. And I'm going to grab another piece of plastic just to keep my desk clean. Okay, and now we just want to fold this over like so. I think I'll use this. And make sure you get glue right along the edge of your cover. You can miter this corner as well. We'll see how it goes. The stuff's so soft when it gets damp that you might not even have to. Just fold it under. Okay. And I don't think you can see. Hang on. I'm just folding this corner over. When you have this saturated with the glue, be very careful because it's tough stuff. It's not easy to tear unless it's wet. Once it's wet, then it does get kind of easy to tear. But if it does tear, you can just sort of Mod Podge patch it back together again. So don't panic if that happens. Okay, there we go. Oof, got some of it on my desk. Set that aside. Where is my, it is. Okay. Now I'm just going to go through, and I've got a little wrinkle there, that's fine, and just put some of the adhesive on the outside. And bear in mind too, when it's wet, I found that wrinkles show up more than when it's dry. So if you have wrinkles and it's panicking you, don't worry about it. Besides the fact that it doesn't look bad when there's wrinkles there, unless they're really horrible wrinkles, but you know, just the technique alone lends itself to having it be imperfect. It just looks like texture, which is not a bad thing to have at all. And also you want to use, I should have mentioned this earlier, but you want to use a pretty good sized brush for this, especially if you're using a bigger cover, making a bigger cover, because you don't want to take too much time with it. And I have a cat hair is in mine. Let me get that. Hazard of having a long-haired cat. Okay. You don't want it to start drying on you before you have things where you want them. Okay, there we go. All right, we're gonna let that dry. I like to let mine dry overnight. I usually will do this as sort of the last thing. I have that sticking up a little bit. You know, the last thing I'm doing in a craft session, you know, while I'm working, is this, so that I can, either that or the first thing, and set it aside to dry. So that when I'm ready for it, it's fully dried. So, okay, I'm gonna leave that. I'm gonna go wash my brush, and I will be back in a second for you, but it'll be tomorrow for me. So, see you in a minute. I am back, as promised. It is the next day for me, and we are going to make our hinge so we can get our pages into this book. So, what I have is a piece that is 5 7/8 tall by, I don't even know how wide it is. Hang on. 6.5. So you're going to score it at 1.5 inches, 1.5, then half, 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 and then you'll have 1.5 at the other end. So what you could do is just score 1.5 at one end, turn it around, and then score 1.5 and then 1/2 inch until you get to the other end. Okay. So then you are going to skip a space, and you're going to put 1/4 inch tape in each of the next 2 spaces, and you want to put it close to the fold, close to the score line. Don't center it. Put it close together. Then you're going to skip the next one, do the same in the next 2 with the tape, and that's all you need to do on this side. Then on this side, you are going to skip. It doesn't matter which way you go, but what I did is, I forget, I don't even remember what I did, but skip 2. So you've got a big space, then you've got 2 1/2 inch spaces, put a piece of tape, skip 2, put a piece of tape. Okay? So that is going to form, when we fold them, our fins. Okay? So then the other thing that we are going to need, and I didn't do it because I wanted you to see what I was doing. So after you, I think for beginners, let's do it this way, because I could do it another way, but I don't want you to get confused. So go ahead and take the back off, fold it over. So now you have the 1.5 space, a fin, and a space. And then we're going to do the same with the second one. There we go. So now you have 2 fins with a 1/2 inch space in between. Okay? Now, what you could do, if you're a little more confident, is you could have put all this tape down first. Back here, but I think you might have gotten confused over which ones to fold together if you did it that way, so that's why I didn't do it. So now we're going to put tape, and what I want you to do when you're doing this is be careful not to extend the tape past the edges, because it will show. And even if you have a large piece of tape, don't use it if it's going to cross one of these seams. That'll make your hinge less flexible. There we go. And you want to go ahead and burnish everything. It's a good idea to give these a good burnish in both directions. Make sure they're nice and flexible. Okay, go. And then I am just going to do a quick test fit. Now, you're going to have an opening. So this is a page. And this, I'm trying to make it so you can see. So we have an opening here, okay? And on the opposite side of that is another opening, and it's right here. And that's what's going to go on our fin. And you want to be careful and make sure that you get the right opening onto the fins. So I'm just checking to make sure that it fits. Let's test fit this one, and here's this one's easier to see the opening. It's right there. Yep, that's fine. Okay. So now let's take our cover that we made just a second ago for you, last night for me, and we are going to move this out of the way. Okay. So what we want to do is center this top to bottom and side to side. And that extra score line that you have, that we've made, it's really just there to be a reference point when you're lining things up to help you tell if you're straight and centered. So I'm just drawing a line where I think I should be. And then I'm checking with my ruler. It's just shy of 1 1/4. And see, it's not quite straight. So I'm just going to make a mark up here so I can make a straight line. And I hope that's straight because I can't really see the mark. Okay, I think that's good. Okay, so this is going to be my line. I don't know. You know what? I can draw it very dark, so let me. So if I put that against that line there, now I'm going to draw a line over here. You don't have to do this all the time, but since I'm gearing this a little to beginners, I just want to do it. So it's actually not centered. It's 1 1/4 here. It's 1 1/8 here. So what I'm going to do is bring this in just a hair. I tend to just eyeball this, and if it's a little off, I'm fine with that, but I know when you're just starting out, sometimes it's easier to excuse me, have something to follow. Okay, so that's going to be our line. All right, so what you're going to do is take just a little bit of the tape off and then line it up so it's centered top to bottom. press down lightly. Put it down. I think it's a little lower. Like I think I have a little more room up here than I do down here, but I'm okay with that. And then you're just going to lift back up. Take off the back of the tape. And then you're going to just lay it down. You want to make sure it's nice and flat. Don't stretch it, but make sure it's flat. Okay. Looks good. Okay. Now we're going to put our pages in. And this is the one that's a little more complicated, so I'm just going to move that out of the way. Now, when we put this down, you're going to take a little bit of the tape off. Maybe. Come on. I have a tool, but of course I'm not bothering to get it. I'm going to have to. It's stuck. Okay. Whoops. Somebody's dog is barking. Okay. So then, when you put this down, okay, okay, let's use this ruler as an example. Say that this is the fin, okay, and we're going to put our page down on this, and then this is the base, the cover. When you put this down on your fin, you do not want to put it all the way to the bottom, especially a really bulky page like this. You want to leave for a less bulky, if I was making less bulky pages, I would say like a 1/16 of an inch. I'm going to leave a full 1/8 of an inch because these pages are so bulky and I like to leave them higher. And that's why you don't put your tape all the way to the bottom either, so that you can do that. Okay, so then I'm going to slide this on the fin. I'm going to get it where I want it, which, like I said, I'm leaving myself a full 1/8 of an inch up. Then I'm going to press that part down and pull this tape out and make sure it's where I want it. I'm just double checking. I feel like I put this page in backwards from the way I originally designed it. I feel like this was going to be in the middle. It was, but I think I changed my mind subconsciously at some point because I always knew that I was going to have these facing each other. I don't know. I'm happy with it though, so that's fine. All right, same thing. Whoops. Where's the other one? Okay. Again, we're going to peel back some of that. And we're going to slide. I like to slide it on from the side that still has the back of the tape on it. Okay. There. Yes, I like that. And I never did mat these, but I'll get back to them because I was kind of waiting to see what I needed for the covers because these can just be burgundy. They're just a place for photos. So looks good now. I want to burnish this down because I didn't before. Okay, and then okay, there we go. Our pages are in our book. looking good. Okay. So now we need to do the outside of our cover, and I'm just going to mat it for now with this because I know we're going to add other things. And I think I'm going to put it over pretty far so that we still get some of this. So this needs to be 6. This is, how big is this? This is 6.5. So it needs to be 6 3/8 by, actually I might make it 5 3/8. Just give me a whole inch there. Or do I want more? Yeah, 5 3/8. 6 3/8 by 5 3/8. Now, before I put this down, I need to put a piece of seam binding under it to be our closure. I have pink. I think I'm going to use pink. We're going to have to put one on the back too, but we'll do that later. Okay, tape. So we want to center this on our cover, which is 6.5. So the center is going to be 3 1/4. Now, one thing you can do, and I never do it just because I don't have the patience for it. I should just do it with all my seam binding. But anyway, one thing you can do is take your seam binding, wet it, scrunch it up in a ball, and then let it dry naturally and end up with a nice crinkly ribbon. But like I said, I don't have the patience for it. Mostly I just don't think of it, and then when it's time to do my closure, I don't want to wait to do it. That is going to go there, like that. Okay. No, it's going to go there like that. Okay. I like to turn this that way so that I can see that I have the same amount of reveal on the top as I do on the bottom. And I'm just using dry baby wipes to wipe up extra glue and things like that and burnish down. I use the CVS brand. Okay, there we go. That looks good. Now we're going to add other things to that, of course. So now our next step is going to be finishing these inside covers. So let me get some stuff and we will do that. I'll be back in a minute.